Coach Vitello. Tony, is that the Chase Dollander that you thought you were getting when he committed to y'all back before y'all left for Omaha last year?
Yeah, but also a little better. The off speed was a lot better than it was last week. It's been, Georgia Southern, even the first weekend of the year, it's been really good. It just wasn't that great last week. And Chase Burns' fastball command wasn't that great last week. So it's good to see the competitive nature of kids where they're not only smart enough, and of course they got Frank helping them to make the adjustment, but I think that's a competitive thing too. But it's a better version of what we thought we were getting because of the off-speed stuff is pretty dang good. And then the other thing is I think it's a little better version than we had earlier in the year because he now has been in situations where it gets a little hairy or the fire gets hot and you kind of see him going through his routines or you just see better presence than I've seen in the past. And that's not to be overly critical of him. If anything, it's a compliment. But, the score doesn't really tell the case of a couple different innings where we make mistakes behind him. He could have wilted. And in this park where the fans are going to get excited, they have an explosive offense. No lead safe. You have to play the game until it's over. Otherwise, they'll sneak up and bite you.
You kind of touched on it, that third inning where Ole Miss gets runners on base because of the back-to-back errors. Just what did you see from Chase in that inning in particular?
Just keeping his calm. And, it's not like you can dial it up and throw any better than you're throwing when he's throwing the way that he is. But I think you can really subtract from your deal if you add in effort or you're frustrated. And we've seen that. I mean, you don't have to be a coach to see that. You can see if a kid is either a little rattled or a little perturbed at his defense. And, Russ is working as hard as anybody. And, maybe for the first time in a while, his lack of catching experience shows up on that pop-up that we could have caught. But overall, just the defensive effort was not great. Now, you could also argue in their favor. There was a lot of quirky balls that were hit, not just for us, but Drew Gilbert's hit down the line. It was just kind of a night where maybe there was something in the air that caused that. But we certainly need to do better defensively with some of those opportunities.
What did you see from the offense? All these homers up until this point, you still had 10 runs on 16 hits without a homer.
Right. Seth was a spark for us tonight. One of his most impressive at-bats was the ball he hit down the right field line after fouling off some really difficult pitches with 2 strikes. They do seem to have a little niche there where they try and figure out how to get things done in a game, and they manage to do so more times than not. And there is kind of a little thing, too. I think we have a complete lineup. Like Mississippi, we talked about it at some point yesterday. 1 through 9 can get you in both these lineups. I guess that's why it's the SEC, but sometimes you go through the order and you're like, man, that guy isn't a very good player. And then the next time you go through the order, he puts together the best at-bat for that trip through. So they've got several characteristics that make them a winning club at this point, but there's still some things to clean up, for any team this early in the season, but in particular for us and in particular after tonight.
Coach, Jake and I talked to you in the preseason about being the underdog, and you guys always fighting for that. Coach, you guys were underranked this week. How did you use that as motivation, and how do you continue to use that as motivation? Because you guys are, 18-1, 19-1, and honestly the best damn baseball team in the country right now.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Again, you let your athletes be athletes, and we're blessed that we have some great athletes to work with. But there were times tonight we looked like, we don't practice at all. So I think, it's important to stay humble in this game. Otherwise, it will humble you in a hurry. But we kind of have a deal, I think, where there's some internal competition for playing time. And then also there's some guys who haven't done, maybe gotten to the point where they want to or accomplished what they wanted to, either in their time here or they're a new player and they came here because they want to do X, Y, or Z. And I think that's kind of taken some of the focus away from that stuff you're bringing up. So I don't know that it's been direct motivation for us, anything that's, out there on paper. I think there's more stuff going on in our training and even on game day that, again, not that stuff's not there, but I think the things I'm talking about just seem to take up more of their attention, which is a good thing.
Coach, one more question I have for you. I want to ask you about your pitching. Obviously, all your starting rotation, high 90s, mid 90s. Then you got your relief staff who comes in, throws 100 mile per hour each and every pitch. Talk about your pitching and how that's going to develop over the season.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Anderson, Will Heflin's a great example last year. Coach Anderson obviously knows what he's doing, but he also has made me feel good about pitchers because you can almost predict a guy's going to be a different guy or a upgraded version of him by the end of the year. And he just seems to do the right things with making adjustments with guys. Like I said with Doe tonight, I mean, it was a subtle thing, but you just saw better presence than I've ever seen out of him. And then with guys like Ben Joyce, I mean, even though he gives up a home run tonight, it ends up being unearned runs, but he lands that slider tonight. I don't know what you're supposed to do as a hitter other than just say the heck with it and sell out. But, he's a great example of a guy who's completely different than he was in February. And I feel strongly that in May he'll be a different guy from what he is today.
How big of a series win is this for you all?
Just happened, so tough to process, to be honest with you. We have a little bit of a quick turnaround tomorrow, so that's where our guys' focus needs to be, and kind of where my head is at is, what do we need to do to play a cleaner game tomorrow, yet still kind of have that hunger or that edge that our guys have clearly had, these two games, but also for most of the season. But you just got to win as many games as you can. And as you mentioned it, anytime you went on the road, I've been in this stadium a lot of times, and the program is strong enough that it's always a full crowd, and it's also strong enough that they win a vast majority of their games at home. So series or not, any win you can have in this building, and it's kind of like that across the whole league. I'm taking the easy way out, but it's a fact. It's something to hang your hat on.
Two pretty non-competitive games. How have you felt your guys have handled the atmosphere this weekend with all the talk going into it?
I thought well, and then it got late, so the stadium emptied, and I thought our guys kind of lost their focus. You could feel a little bit of a lull in energy in the seventh inning out of some of the guys, and maybe I'm just saying that, and then there's a mistake, and I blame it on that. Who knows? I'm a coach. I got to come up with some sort of theory. But and then the guys, kind of get giddy over there when Ben comes in. That's just the way that it is. So if I've got to do anything, I guess tonight or in the future, it's manage a little bit of that and make sure those guys keep that deal they got going on, because it's so fun in the dugout and it's so fun in pregame, and it's certainly fun to watch them when they're in action on the field, when they have their mind in the right place, and that's on kind of what's in front of them. But they're kids. I can see where you get spaced out a little bit and think, well, we have a comfortable lead and that we've got control of the game. Well, anyone that's a Vol fan, I don't have to take you too far back, and I'm sure Mississippi fans have seen their team do it too. This is college baseball and aluminum bats, man. It ain't over till the umpires go in the locker room, and so it's important to maintain that consistency.
Thanks, Coach.